قالوا يا أبانا إنا ذهبنا نستبق وتركنا يوسف عند متاعنا فأكله الذئب وما أنت بمؤمن لنا ولو كنا صادقين. صدق الله.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وجاءوا على قميصه بدم كذب قال بل سولت لكم أنفسكم أمرا فاصبر جميل والله المستعان ولا ما تصفون وجاءت سيارة فأرسلوا واردهم فأدلى دلوه قال يا بشرى هذا غلام وأسره بضاعة والله عليم بما يعملون وشروه بثمن بخس دارهم معدودات وكانوا فيه من الزاهدين وقال الذي اشتراه من مصر لامرأته أكرمي مثواه عسى أن ينفعنا أو نتخذه ولدا وكذلك مكنا ليوسف في الأرض ولنعلمه من تأويل الأحاديث والله غالب على أمره ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون ولما بلغ أشده آتيناه حكما وعلما وكذلك نجزي المحسنين وراودته وراودته التي هو في بيتها عن نفسه وغلقت الأبواب وقالت هيت لك قال معاذ الله إنه ربي أحسن مثواه إنه لا يفلح الظالمون ولقد همت به وهم بها لولا أن رأى برهان ربه كذلك لنصرف عنه السوء والفحشاء إنه من عبادنا المخلصين واستبق الباب وكدت قميصه من دبر وألف يا سيدها لدى الباب قالت ما جزاء من أراد بأهلك سوءا إلا أن يسجن وعذاب أليم قال هي راودتني عن نفسي وشهد شاهد من أهلها إن كان قميصه قد من قبل إن كان قميصه قد من قبل فصدقت وهو من الكاذبين وإن كان قميصه قد من دبر فكذبت وهو من الصادقين فلما رأى قميصه قد من دبر قال إنه من كيدكن إن كيدكن عظيم يوسف أعرض عن هذا واستغفر لذنبك إنك كنت من الخاطئين. صدق الله
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وقال نسوة بالمدينة امرأة العزيز ترافد فتاها عن نفسه قد شغفها حبا إنا نراها في ضلال مبين فلما سمعت بمكرهن أرسلت إليهن وأعتدت لهن متكا وآتت كل واحدة منهن سكينا وقالت اخرج عليهن فلما رأينه أكبره وقطعن أيديهن وقلنا حاشا لله ما هذا بشرا إن هذا إلا ملك كريم قال فذلكن الذي لمتنني فيه ولقد راودته عن نفسه فاستعصم ولئن لم يفعل ما آمره ليسجنن وليكون من الساجدين قال رب السجن أحب إلي مما يدعونني إليه وإلا تصرف عني كيدهن أصب إليهن ما كن من الجاهلين فاستجاب له ربه فصرف عنه كيدهن إنه هو السميع العليم. ثم بدا لهم من بعد ما رأوا الآيات لا يسجننه حتى حين ودخل معه السجن فتيان قال أحدهما إني أراني أعصر خمرا وقال الآخر إني أراني أحمل فوق رأسي خبزا تأكل الطير منه نبئنا بتأويله إنا نراك من المحسنين قال لا يأتيكما طعام ترزقانه إلا نبأتكما بتأويله قبل أن يأتيكما ذلك مما علمني ربي إني تركت ملة قوم لا يؤمنون بالله وهم بالآخرة هم كافرون واتبعت ملة آبائي إبراهيم وإسحاق ويعقوب وما كان لنا أن نشرك بالله من شيء ذلك من فضل الله علينا وعلى الناس ولكن أكثر الناس لا يشكرون يا صاحبي السجن أأرباب متفرقون خير أم الله الواحد القهار ما تعبدون من دونه إلا أسماء سميتموها أنتم وآباؤكم ما أنزل الله بها من سلطان إن الحكم إلا لله أمر ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه ذلك الدين القيم ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون يا صاحبي السجن أما أحدكما فيسقي ربه خمرا أما الآخر فيصلب فتأكل الطير من رأسه قضي الأمر الذي فيه تستفتيان وقال الذي ظن أنه ناج منه واذكرني عند ربك فأنساه الشيطان ذكر ربه فلبث في السجن بضع سنين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وقال الملك إني أرى سبع بقرات سمان يأكلهن سبع إجاف وسبع سنبلات خضر وأخرى يابسات يا أيها الملأ أفتوني في رؤياي إن كنتم للرؤيا تعبرون قالوا أضغاث أحلام وما نحن بتحويل الأحلام بعالمين وقال الذي نجا منهم وادكر بعد أمة أنا أنبئكم بتحويله فأرسلون يوسف أيها الصديق أفتنا في سبع بقرات سمان يأكلهن سبع إجاف وسبع سنبلات خضر وأخرى يابسات لعلي أرجع إلى الناس لعلهم يعلمون قال تزرعون 7 سنين دأبا فما أصبتم فذروا في سنبله إلا قليلا مما تأكلون ثم يأتي من بعد ذلك 7 شداد يأكلن ما قدمتم لهن إلا قليلا مما تحسنون ثم يأتي من بعد ذلك عام فيه يغاث الناس وفيه يأسرون وقال الملك ائتوني به فلما جاءه الرسول قال ارجع إلى ربك فاسأله ما بال النسوة اللاتي قطعن أيديهن إن ربي بكيدهن عليم قال ما خطبكن إذ راوتن يوسف عن نفسه قلنا حاشا لله ما علمنا عليه من سوء قالت رأت العزيز الآن حس الحق أنا راودته عن نفسه وإنه لمن الصادقين ذلك يعلم أني لم ذلك ليعلم أني لم أخنه بالغيب وأن الله لا يهدي كيد الخائنين اللهم صل على محمد.
فاتحة فرأي الأموات يرحمكم الله. بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. اللهم صل على محمد. May Allah accept your أعمال بحق محمد وآل محمد.
Mic on me, I think. On. Assalamu alaikum, brother. How are you, brother? How are you? Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraja. Testing, testing, testing. Yeah. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. Yesterday we wrapped up the discussion on what was the discussion yesterday? I don't remember myself. But Aqaba, Pledge of Aqaba. And now we will talk about the migration of the Holy Prophet ﷺ from Makkah to Medina. I will not go into the actual storyline. I think everybody knows the general story. That the Prophet was, there was a whole plot to assassinate the Prophet. And one of the nights, so they had sent some of the Muslims earlier to Medina. And essentially the Prophet was left behind. And the night that they wanted to kill the Prophet, they put Imam Ali alayhi salam he slept on his bed. And he basically escaped from the city, went to the cave of Thawr. The whole incident of the spider web and the eggs by the birds. That whole miracle, I think everybody should, inshallah, know that story. And then they went to Medina. Okay, so that's the general story, but I want to focus on this from a different perspective, inshallah. And the perspective I want to look at this from is through the concepts of faqr, poverty, and ghina, okay, which we understand as being rich. Okay, I know it's a very strange, what do you mean? What's it got to do with migration? Okay, in any language, when you use different words, these words have connotations to them. Okay, for example, if I say the word poor today, if I say somebody is poor, we have this definition of poor, but often the concept of poor will be, it will have a connotation to it. It will have a connotation. For example, when we say poor today, maybe the connotation of it is, people in like developing countries, okay, people who don't have a house. That's the idea of poor when we get. Or when we say rich, okay, maybe these rich actors and actresses that live in U.S. I don't forgetting the famous place where they live, Beverly Hills or something. All these rich people live there. So when you say rich, you understand, okay, they have money, but there's a specific misdaq, specific instance, and a specific connotation that is attached to it. Likewise, when I say slavery, as soon as you say slavery, the concept of American slavery in America that was very ruthless, that immediately comes to mind. There's this very negative connotation to it. Sometimes some things have a very positive connotation. Sometimes some things have a very negative connotation. And these connotations can change over the course of time. Okay, they can change over the course of time. So we want to talk about the idea of being poor and being rich and the connotations that it had in Arabia. Okay, when you said poor in Makkah, what did that mean? Or when you said rich in Makkah, Medina, wherever, what did it mean? Does it mean, is it just linked to money? Definitely money is a thing, but what is the connotation? What sort of examples do come in people's minds when they would say, these two words? And this is a very interesting discussion in basically it's called etymology, study of words, where they come from, what was the connotation, and so on and so forth. When we look at the usage of the words faqr and ghina, and this is important because in the Quran you will see that these connotations are being implied. You will notice that two things were very key markers for people in society. Okay, one was movement, and one was sort of stagnation or being settled. These two sort of identified the demography of people, not democracy, demography of the people. Okay, so demographically, Arabia is divided into these two groups. A group of people who are settled in Makkah or Medina or Taif or Khaybar or wherever, and they are settled. And another group of people are sort of always on the move. They're the Bedouins, the Baddus, the nomads, and these sort of people who live not in cities essentially. And when the Arabs would use the word ghina, okay, meaning what we call rich, the connotation that would come in these people's minds would be people who are settled in the cities. Okay, when you said rich, it definitely meant somebody who was living in a city. You would not find an instance of the word being someone calling somebody ghani and they happen to be a nomad. Even though the nomad may live a normal life, they may live up to 50, 60, but you will not see the word rich being used for a nomad. And likewise, if you use the word faqr or faqir, it often meant somebody who was not settled anywhere. Somebody who was sort of on the move, okay? Somebody who was just continuously moving. So, for example, when you look at the cities where you have agriculture, trade, farming, so Taif, I had already mentioned, Taif, Medina, these two sort of cities, and Makkah, it is these people who are going to be known in society, like the expectation that society will have is that these people are the rich people. Okay, it's not so different to today, like people living in Toronto or New York or these big cities, they are going to be the ones who are rich. It's very similar even today. Okay, so this is the situation in Arabia. So ghani means rich, but somebody who is settled. Okay, why are they called ghani? Being settled implies a sense of predictability. Okay, when you are settled somewhere, Okay, when you say want to immigrate to Canada, want to get settled over there. Settlement implies a sense of predictability. You know what to expect tomorrow. You know, alhamdulillah, we go to bed and Allah blesses us tomorrow with another day and we have a routine. This is which will result to being ghani, self-sufficient. Okay, it doesn't always have to be with money, but this sort of self-sufficiency. But when you are a Bedouin and a nomad, you know, I went to a place called basically Lorestan in Iran, the place called Shiraz, okay? And if you Google Shiraz Canyon, you will be pretty surprised. It's a very beautiful canyon in Iran, you know, really beautiful. Like, you would be surprised this is Iran. Over there, they have, like, you know, Iran has like one of the highest nomadic populations. So, you know, I went with two of my friends, and lo and behold, we wanted to see these nomads. So we actually chilled with these nomads for like a half a day. And, you know, you can tell, like, the way they live, you know, they're there, the women are on one side, the men are on the other side, the kids are there bringing the rocks and, you know, cutting the wood. It's a really interesting lifestyle. You know, they brought us into their tents, you know, the chawal, the roti, they made it right away. But one of the things they would always keep saying is that, you know, that you would notice in their language a lot of trust in God. Allah, you know, God will give, because they actually don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. They don't know if in the nighttime a wolf may come and eat their sheep. They don't know if they will even find water tomorrow. Okay? So they have this unpredictability in their lives. And this unpredictability is what's going to be, you know, give them the title of faqir or fuqara, unstable. Okay? Now let's look at the Quran, and I will show you something very interesting. And if you look at the translations of the Quran, you will see how the translators translated this. Look at Surah Al-A'raf, ayah 92. الَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا شُعَيْبًا, those who rejected Shu'aib, كَأَن لَمْ يَغْنُوا فِيهَا. If you look at the word yaghnu and you say كَأَن لَمْ يَغْنُوا, is always as if it's saying, you know, they were not sufficient. If you look at the translation, it says, those people who rejected Shu'aib became as they had never lived there. Yaghnu in the Quran, كَأَن لَمْ يَغْنُوا فِيهَا, as if they never lived there. Okay, and then so on. Surah Hud, ayah 68. كَأَن لَمْ يَغْنُوا, this is talking about the Thamud. كَأَن لَمْ يَغْنُوا فِيهَا أَلَا إِنَّ ثَمُودَ كَفَرُوا رَبَّهُمْ أَلَا بُعْدًا لِثَمُودَ. As if they, so Allah punished them, and He made their, after the punishment, the place became as if كَأَن لَمْ يَغْنُوا فِيهَا, as if they never lived there. And likewise, another Surah Hud, ayah 95, same thing. كَأَن لَمْ يَغْنُوا فِيهَا أَلَا بُعْدًا لِمَدْيَنَ كَمَا بَعْدَتْ ثَمُودَ, as if they had never lived there. So, you know, do away with Madian as it was with the Thamud. Okay? So you see, the word yaghnu, ghina, in the Quran has been used in the meaning of living, as if they were never settled there, as if nobody ever lived there. Okay? There's, you know, in basically, in this etymology that I was talking about, how do they figure this out? How do they know the connotation of 1400 years ago? How do they figure these things out? You know, you must be wondering. Maybe some of you are wondering. Maybe some of you don't care. I don't know. But I was interesting for me. The way they figure these out is that they actually have to go before the Arabic language. And the Arabic language is part of what they call the Semitic languages. In this specific research, they even have to go actually before the Semitic languages, which is called the Afro-Asiatic languages, which is all the North African and South African. Because look, they have a lot of evidence to show a lot of, you know, interrelationships between these languages. So they try and figure out the history of these root words, original root words before the Arabic language, and what did it mean in the Semitic languages? What did it mean in the Afro-Asiatic languages? And in these early languages, when you look at the word faqr or faqir, you will see what it is being used for. It is used for things which are basically left hanging somewhere. Okay? Something that you just hang. That was the word faqara was referred for this. For example, in some of the African languages, the word faqara or faqir was used to mean clouds. If you look at the clouds, they're just hanging. You know, you don't know where are they going to go, anywhere. You have no clue. Something that is not settled, something that is left hanging, or something that is on the move. This is called faqir or faqara in these old languages. When they would come into the Arabic language and the Arabic would adopt them, these connotations would remain there. This is, by the way, these type of discussions is very important to understand the Quran. I'll give you guys just a side thing just on a side note, just because it's so cool and interesting. Some of you may find it interesting. You know, we have many ayahs in the Quran that start with La uqsimu. La uqsimu, I don't know, bihadha al-balad. Okay? La uqsimu bil, I don't know, khunnas, for example. La uqsim. In the translations, every single translation that you will read, it will say, I swear by this balad. La uqsimu bihadha al-balad. I swear by this balad. Even a normal, Pakistani child will tell you that la in Arabic does not mean I swear. It means I don't swear. Right? Every translation says, I swear. If you look over here, they did another analysis very recently, a couple of years ago, on the word qasam. It's very interesting. And these researchers figured out that the word qasam also had a negative connotation that had to do with the soothsayers and the fortune tellers in Arabia. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, La uqsimu bihadha al-balad, meaning the word qasam is often has a connotation with, fortune tellers. Allah is saying, no, I will not use the qasam of these fortune tellers that are using these speculation and they're saying they have jinns and so on. Bihadha al-balad, something in which you are living in. Okay? وَأَنْتَ حِلٌّ بِهَذَا الْبَلَدِ, right? If I recall the ayah. You are in this city, something that is so sacred and great, magnificent. I will not do a qasam on this. I will not use the word qasam on this. Okay? Very interesting. I'm just throwing this out. Because if you look at the translations, 7-8 places, La uqsim, La uqsim, La uqsim, they're saying, I swear. The translators will write, I swear by this. I swear by this. I'm saying, look, recent research tells us complete opposite. That no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He said La uqsim, it actually meant, I don't swear by this. That changes the entire meaning of the surah. No one has ever given this interpretation until now. This is how it is. It took 1,000 years to figure out, 1,400 years to figure out. Maybe the early companions knew this, but it got lost when these meanings changed. Okay? Now, when the muhajirin, so let's bring it back to the discussion of the hijrah. When you look at the Muslims in Makkah, you do not find any ayah or any reference in the hadith which says that they were fuqara or they were faqir. Even when you look at the story of the migration to Abyssinia, even when you look at the Muslims during the boycott of Makkah, during the whole period of persecution, you do not find references, or at least I have not seen any references, where the Muslims are being described as fuqara. Muslims in Makkah, that these people were fuqara, they were faqir, and the mushrikeen were, persecuting them and they were harassing them and so on. They were not fuqara. They were from clans, they were ghanim, they were settled, they still had their homes and everything. But look at what happens as soon as they migrate to Medina. As soon as they migrate to Medina, look at Surah Al-Hashr, Ayah 8. Lil fuqara al-muhajirin. All of a sudden, the muhajirin, who are the Muslims of Makkah, are now being described as fuqara. Why? Because they are now in movement. They're no longer settled anywhere. They are in movement. للفقراء المهاجرين الذين أخرجوا من ديارهم وأموالهم يبتغون فضلا من الله ورضوانا وينصرون الله ورسوله أولئك هم الصادقون. Those muhajirin who are now fuqara, who have been kicked out of their homes and their wealth and have been taken, they want the fadl from Allah and His ridwan, and they help Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His messenger. They are the ones who are from the sadiqun. They are the ones who are the truthful. Okay? So you notice that even the entire 13 years in Makkah, where they are persecuted, they are tortured, some are killed, some have to migrate, some are in boycott, they're not considered fuqara. Not considered fuqara. As soon as they go from a settled place to a movement, they're all of a sudden described as fuqara. Meaning these people are now unsettled. Their life has unpredictability. They do not have clarity with what tomorrow holds for them. And that is what will happen to them when they come to Medina. When they come to Medina, they're not sure actually what will happen. Like, this is an entirely new city. If one person migrates to a new country, okay, maybe it's easy to sort of, take on this immigrant and, let them settle in. But when an entire sort of, hundreds of people are moving, this new city, how are they going to handle them? Okay, this is going to be an issue. Now, the Prophet ﷺ, he understands this. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He understands this. So what does he do? As soon as the muhajirin come to Medina, This is why he makes the pact of brotherhood. He makes the very famous pact of brotherhood, which is, what does he do? He pairs up one muhajir with one of the ansars. Okay, he pairs them up. Obviously, we know in our situation, in Imam Ali's situation, he paired himself with himself. So that was only like 1-2 exceptions. But everybody else, the muhajirin were paired up with one of the ansar. What was the point of this pact of brotherhood? What was, you're my friend, no, that's it, No, there were actually implications on this. There were actually implications. And look, none of this was actually forced by the Prophet. The Prophet did not say, I'm making this brotherhood, now you, the Ansar, have to do this for the Muhajirin. It was not forced. It was out of their goodwill and their faith that they're going to do what they're about to do. One of the main things that the Ansar will do for the Muhajirin is that firstly, they will give them half of their homes to live in. Okay, initially, a whole sort of exodus has happened from Makkah. They will allow the Muhajirin to come and live. They will basically accept half of the houses, half the house, and they will say, come live with us. You do not have any homes right now. Their entire property, homes, assets, money, wealth, camels, whatever, has been confiscated by the mushrikeen, which is going to lead to the Battle of Badr, by the way. Okay, it has been taken. So the Prophet is saying, you have brotherhood with them, treat them as if they are your own real brother. As a real brother, what would you do? You will give them half of your house. Okay, that's one thing. Second thing that they will do, they will try to get them jobs. So the Muhajirin, they don't have any more jobs. Okay, they have lost all their assets. The Ansar will try to get them employed in their own sort of farms and whatever, palm trees and whatever, business that they will do. They will try to get them employed in that. A third thing that they will do, and this was just for a temporary period, what I'm about to say, this was temporary, was that if one of the Ansar passed away, the Muhajirin were actually going to inherit from them. Okay, this is not allowed. Like there's no share of inheritance. The person is not from the family. But this pact of brotherhood, the Ansar were saying that, look, when we die or if we die, the Ansar can take a share of our inheritance because they need to come out from a state of faqr and become ghani. How are they supposed to do that? How are they supposed to get settled? The Ansar are going to help them get settled in Medina. This is the main point that I'm trying to say. And these people of Medina, remember, I mentioned yesterday, they are the Aus and the Khazraj. The Aus and the Khazraj themselves were Muhajirin from Yemen. So when they had come from Yemen, the Jewish tribes were the ones who allowed them to settle in. If you remember the story of King Tubba, I had mentioned, King Tubba said, okay, you know what, you're being very nice to me. I will send Aus and Khazraj for you and you can, allow them to settle. The Aus, the Banu Nadir, Banu Qurayza, Banu, Qaynuqa, these Jewish tribes, they were the ones who allowed them to get settled. Now that this group of people, the Aus and the Khazraj, have been settled there for a long time, when new Muhajirin, new Muslims are going to come, they have the experience, they have the knowledge, they have been there for decades, They know exactly how the city works. They know exactly what the culture is like. They are going to allow the facilitation of the migration and allow the Muslims to settle. What does this mean for us today? Okay, what does this mean? If we say we want to imitate the seerah of the Holy Prophet, what on earth does this event have to do with us today? Okay, many times we read this event, we talk about the fact that Imam Ali alayhi salam was made the brother of the Prophet, and that is a huge merit. As I said, this was an exception, because over here you have the case of two Muhajirin, the Prophet and Imam Ali alayhi salam. Obviously that was a special point regarding Imam Ali that the Prophet is trying to make. But besides that, what about the rest of the companions? What does it mean for us? What does it mean for us? For us, I think this is a very good sort of lesson on how to help new immigrants coming into the country where we are settled. Okay? For example, just a couple of years ago, we had a huge influx of Syrian refugees coming in. I want to ask, what role did the Shia communities have to play in facilitating their settlement into the country? Do we not know that once they get into the hands of, let's say, certain groups, that they will be brainwashed about Islam? Do we not know that? I spent 2 months in Lebanon a couple of years back, and I had an opportunity to see how some of these NGOs are working. Okay, many of these NGOs that were in Lebanon, I was in a Sunni city called Tripoli. All Ahlul Sunnah over there. A lot of Syrian refugees were coming. I actually volunteered for one of the NGOs. These NGOs are funded by the governments. So the one I was working for was France. The French were funding the NGOs, or for example from Italy, from different European countries. And I saw the Syrian refugee kids who were there. All of them were from religious families. All of them, because I met their parents. All of them are from religious families. So I would volunteer, I would help them, speak English. But there were other volunteers as well. All of them are from Europe and America, by the way. I was the only Muslim in this entire thing. I was the only Muslim. Everyone else is, I remember Italy, German, I don't know, French, British, American. Very interesting situation that I was in, okay? I was the one feeling awkward in a Muslim country. In this situation, I'm the one feeling awkward because for me to even teach them, La ilaha illallah, it was an awkward thing because, they're here in this sort of secular environment. We have to train them, we have to educate them, we have to show them what the West has to offer. Anyways, these kids will probably get brainwashed in a couple of months to a year. Likewise, over here is the same thing. You have refugees coming in, for example, after wars. These refugees are Muslims, guys. They're Muslims. Many of them are religious people. When they go and get into the hands of certain groups, certain political parties, what do you think will happen with them? Especially with the younger children. They're going to get brainwashed and they will very easily assimilate with certain cultures and certain ideologies that we disagree with. But the parents have no clue. Parents don't know any English. Okay, fine. This is, let's say, Syrian refugees. What about Shia Muslims that come and immigrate to the West? To Toronto, let's say. Do we, as a community who have been settled here for now many years, 30, 40 years, many of us have been here, the Shia community is here for 30, 40 years. Do we have any structure in place to allow for the facilitation and the sort of assimilation and also for the settlement and easy settlement for new immigrants that come into the country? Do we have anything? Do we even care? Forget, do we even care? Do we even realize that this event of the migration and the pact of brotherhood, besides the fadila of Imam Ali, which is the main point, also has a lesson for us. The seerah has a lesson for us, guys. When we limit to just the fadila, okay, what does it mean for me today? Why are we ignoring the entire event? Why are we doing that? Why do we have to limit the seerah to just theatrics? I do not understand this concept. We have to understand, when the immigrants are coming in, many parents are unsettled. They do not have financial stability. They do not have jobs. The seerah, the Prophet is telling them, give half of your homes. I'm not saying do that. I think that's way too high of an ideal for us. It's way too high. I don't think we will ever be able to get to that level. But look, these are the Sahaba of the Prophet. They're doing this. The Ansar, they're doing this for them. And their homes are not like our homes, by the way. If anyone has seen the homes of that era, it's very tiny homes, 1-2 rooms. Okay, and many stories will happen in Medina, women and men, mahram, not mahram. That's why the ayah saying, tell the wives speak behind the curtain, because it's very small places. It's very small vicinities. It's not, five bedroom homes and stuff. In those homes, the Ansar are giving them space to live. This is the makarimul akhlaq. The Prophet is coming to do takmeel of makarimul akhlaq. This is the ideal, this is the epitome that he is setting. I'm not saying do this, because we cannot do this right now, but I'm saying at least think about it, and let's see what we need to do now to at least work towards that way. If we are not going to work towards that way, then Imam Sadiq ﷺ's famous narration, if 2 of your days are equal and you have not seen any improvement in your second day, then death is better for you. Then death is better for you. You might as well pray for your demise, because you're not progressing anywhere. The more you stay in this stagnation, you're incurring a loss. This is why Imam Sadiq ﷺ said that. So look, this entire migration is telling us how the Prophet is facilitating for new immigrants. We thought maybe there's nothing about immigration policies in the seerah. Well, here you go. The entire event is teaching you about immigration policies and how to assist and facilitate the bringing in of newcomers in a city. As a Shia community, as a Muslim community, we have to think about these things. We cannot allow for our own people who are coming from Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, Iraq, whether they're coming from war-torn countries, or whether they're coming just for whatever other reason, we cannot allow for them to come and then either they themselves get misguided, or at the very least, their children get misguided. if their children get misguided, aslan, you are not adding any value to the community. Their immigration is not adding any value to the community. I'm repeating this 2-3 times. The immigration that they are doing is not adding any value to the community if the children are going to get lost, if the parents are going to get lost. Religiously, I'm talking about. We have to think about these things very, very carefully, and we have to have a strategy for these things in place. Okay, inshallah. Look what happens, and this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Hashr, Ayah 9, He says, وَالَّذِينَ تَبَوَّأُوا الدَّارَ وَالْإِيمَانَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ يُحِبُّونَ مَنْ هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِمْ وَلَا يَجِدُونَ فِي صُدُورِهِمْ حَاجَةً مِمَّا أُوتُوا وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ وَمَنْ يُؤْقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. As for those who had settled in the city and embraced the faith before the arrival of the Muhajirin, as for those who had settled in the city, those who were in the city, meaning the Ansar, they love whoever does hijrah to them. The Ansar, they are looking forward to them. They look at them with love. Never having a desire in their heart for whatever of the gains is given to the Muhajirin. Meaning when the new Muhajirin are coming, they will be given stuff. They will be given some place to live. They will be given some financial assistance. They will be given jobs and employment. Marriages will be happening between the Muhajirin and Ansar. Allah says in the Quran, they never had a desire that, why are they getting all this privilege? Why are they getting all this benefit? We want this. They never had this. They gave the Muhajirin preference over themselves, even though they were in need at times. Even though, وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ, even though they may have some need, they said, no, let's sacrifice for them. And whoever is saved from selfishness of their own souls, it is they who are truly successful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, these people are the successful one. One of the definitions of success, sacrifice and overlooking your own sort of wants and looking at the greater good of the community. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying this in the Quran. Okay, I'm not saying anything over here. Okay, so this is the hijrah. I wanted to talk about the change in the qibla because that also has some very interesting lessons, but I will skip that because we don't have time. And we will go on, I will start setting the precedent for the battles now. And tomorrow, inshallah, the youth have somehow promised me that there will be a projector or something. So, inshallah, I can show you guys the map. When the Muslims are now sort of, getting settled and so on, you have to remember that the wealth, the homes, the assets, all of them have been taken by the Muslims. As a matter of fact, the reason why Imam Ali alayhi salam comes late, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, the reason why he comes late is actually the Prophet had told him to return the amana. The mushrikeen had still given him some trusts. Even though they wanted to kill him, they still considered him to be trustworthy. Imam Ali was responsible to give back these trusts. Okay, so this is why he came late. And he was slept on the bed of the Prophet because of this reason. Now that everybody is coming and trying to get settled, the Muslims, their wealth has been taken, their homes have been sort of overtaken by the mushrikeen, and everything. They have lost everything. Literally, they have lost everything. They are like refugees. When you look at the mushrikeen economy of Makkah, you will notice that it is all based on the trade, which I have mentioned many times. What the Muslims will start to do once they come to Medina, firstly, it will be the Muhajirin that will do this. They will start to launch raids at some of these smaller caravans. And this is, guys, a very important topic in the West, because this is one of the main incidents on which they do not like the Prophet, what I'm about to mention. If you go to Al-Quds, for example, rarely you see those Islamophobes. They have these posters. He's a warlord, he's a warmonger. And you as a Muslim are wondering, what do you mean? I don't ever heard this history. This is it. These are the stories which cause them to say these things. Inshallah, we will analyze it. The Muslims started to do raids. What does raid mean? It means a caravan is going, innocent caravan of the mushrikeen. They're going, they want to go sell their products in Syria. And the Muhajirin are going to say, you know what? There's a caravan that is going. Let's go jump them. Let's go jump them and let's steal the wealth and bring it back. It's our, we'll steal it. That's what it seems like. 8 raids, or let me call it 8 attempted raids, will take place from the time of the Hijrah until the second Hijri, basically until the Battle of Badr. 8. Minimum 8. So what are the Islamophobes saying? They're saying, you are the ones who caused the battle of Badr. Okay? You are the ones, the Muslims are the ones. The Quraysh are not attacking you guys right now. You are the ones going and provoking them. Again, 8 times. 8 times you're provoking them, and then you're saying, oh, they fought us in Badr. What does that mean? Oh, they fought us in Uhud. You're the ones who are, taking the mick, as they say in England, taking the mick, right? 2 years, you're coming back after them, ruining their journeys. What are these raids? I'm going to mention some of them. The first raid takes place in the month of Ramadan, first Hijri, basically a couple of months right after the Hijrah. It's called Sayful Bahr. This is led by Hazrat Hamza. Okay, the first raid is led by Hamza. There is no Ansar in this. Just 30 to 40 Muhajirin. 30, 40 Muhajirin. They go, they try to raid. It's a failure. They cannot take anything. Basically, the caravan runs away. Okay. Second raid is called the raid in Juhfa. Okay, also in the first Hijri. It's led by a guy named Ubaidullah bin Haris. 60 to 80 Muhajirin. Look, there's no Ansar in this. I want you to notice there's no Ansar, because this is going to be one of the reasons why we can refute these Islamophobes. 60 to 80 Muhajirin, they go and they try to take the caravan, loot the caravan. They fail. Okay. Third expedition is called the Kharrar Expedition. It's led by Sa'ad bin Abi Waqas. This is in the month of Dhul Qa'dah, also near Juhfa. Juhfa, by the way, is Ghadir. That's Juhfa. Where Ghadir Khum is, that's Juhfa. 20 Muhajirin. 20 Muhajirin are going. They're going with their weapons. They want to actually loot the caravan. Again, failure. Fourth expedition, this time the Prophet will also join. Okay? This is called the Wadan Expedition. Okay, the Wadan Expedition. This is in 12 Rajab, 2 Hijri. 70 soldiers from the Muslims. Okay, 70 soldiers. And they say in this one, there were also a couple of Ansar. What happens in this one? The Prophet leads the caravan, leads the Muslims, and they get to Wadan, which is the area. The Quraysh, they had spies. By the way, inshallah, I want to show you guys the map tomorrow. You will see there's a whole spy network between Makkah and Medina. There was basically people in watchtowers. Everybody was watching from the mountains and so on, without binoculars, but they were observing. Everybody knew what was going on. It was a very interesting tactic going on. The mushrikeen, they figure out that the Prophet is waiting, so they take a detour. So they are on the 70 Muhajirin who are there to raid the caravan. They cannot take, nothing happens. It's a failure. The caravan is a failure. The raid, sorry. But the Prophet is able to make a treaty with one of the Bedouin tribes. It's called Banu Damra. He's able to make like a contract with them. That look, we will protect you, you give us protection. So this positive thing came out of it. Fifth raid is called the Bowat Expedition. Also led by the Prophet. This time, 200 Muhajirin and Ansar. Okay. The Quraysh is led by Umayyah bin Khalaf, who was the previous owner of Bilal. Umayyah bin Khalaf is the previous owner of Bilal. Once again, they figure out the 200 Muslims are waiting. They take a detour. Look, guys, 5 expeditions, all of them are failure. Okay? You will notice why the Badr will become a huge victory. This is all leading up to Badr. 5th one, failure. 6th one is called Ghazwa of Safwan. Okay? Basically, what happens here is there's a man by the name of Qurs bin Jabir al-Fihri. He's a mushrik from Makkah. He goes on the outskirts of Medina. He takes some of the camels of the Muslims, and he basically kills them. Killing a camel is like, damaging somebody's Ferrari or something. The Muslims are upset. Okay, so basically, Prophet sent 70 men to go chase after Fihri, but this guy was really quick. So he went into this valley called Safwan. In the maps, inshallah, maybe I can show. Went into the valley of Safwan and he basically dipped. He escaped. The Muslims, 70 Muslims could not chase him. Muslims are getting frustrated. What's going on? 7 attempts, they have our wealth, our home, our assets, our clothes, our money. This is our stuff that they are doing business with. Okay, I'm giving you guys clues already on how this is not offensive. This is taking things back. Okay, it's not offensive. 7th raid of Dhul Ushayra. This one is important now. This is important. Who is leading this? Abu Sufyan is leading this caravan. This is, by the way, a big caravan. It's huge. Okay, this is literally like entire Meccan assets are going to Sham. Second Hijri. The Prophet is going to send around 150 to 200 men to loot this caravan. This is a big one. And they haven't even sold anything. This is just the Meccan property. Okay, they go. And Abu Sufyan figures out that the Muslims are coming. And they basically begin to go quicker. Abu Sufyan and his caravan, they begin to move quicker. And they basically took a 3-day lead over the Muslims. A 3-day lead. By the time the Prophet came with the soldiers, all of a sudden they figured out they had gone 3 days ago. Okay? Between this, so now they're gone to Sham. Abu Sufyan and his caravan gone to Sham. Okay? Whatever, they will come back a month or two later. Between this month or two, there's another raid called Raid of Nakhla. In this, finally, they capture one of the mushriks and they even kill one of them. There's an entire story here because they killed him in one of these sacred months. Okay, they were not allowed to kill in the sacred month. They killed him. An entire story, I don't want to go into that. But it's called the Raid of Nakhla. But now, guys, come to basically 17th of Ramadan. This 17th Ramadan, in a couple of days. Second Hijri. That caravan of Abu Sufyan is coming back now. Okay, he's coming back. And the Muslims figure out, okay, he's coming back. We missed him on the first go. We're not going to miss him this time. Abu Sufyan figures out that, and by the way, so inshallah tomorrow when I show you the maps, you will see. The caravan would come through Badr. They would come through Badr, and from Badr they would come back to Makkah. The Muslims arrive at Badr. Abu Sufyan figures out that the Muslims are waiting. He sends a dispatch who gets to Makkah very quickly. So Abu Sufyan takes a detour basically in a place called Yambu. Takes a detour, does not go to Badr. He sends a dispatch to Makkah, tells Abu Jahl that, look man, it's getting way out of hand. 300 plus Muslims are there to loot our caravan. Abu Jahl says, 300? Amazing. We're going to bring an army of 1,000 and just, that's it, destroy them. We'll destroy them and we'll finish them off, okay? So now, when Abu Sufyan is waiting in Yambu, Abu Jahl gathers an army literally in like 1 day. He says to the mushrikeen that this is our opportunity. They have been trying to raid us. Hamara damag kharab kar diya 2 saal mein. Every couple of months they're trying to do a raid. This is our time to just finish these guys off. Okay, enough is enough. We will kill them off. Gets everybody ready and they go off to Badr. And inshallah tomorrow I will talk about the Battle of Badr. How quickly they reached Badr. And Abu Sufyan sneakingly, as soon as he figured out Abu Jahl is coming with an army, he took the detour and came back down south. So Abu Sufyan was not in the Battle of Badr. And neither was, because remember, these men who were with the army, with the caravan, they were not in Badr either. So they came home, the woman and the family, they're happy, they got a lot of money and the wealth. But a lot of men from Makkah, they went to Badr, and that is where the Muslims will see, oh my God, what happened here? We just want to loot this caravan. Caravans, they have some, soldiers and stuff, but it's not an army. This time, an army of 1,000 people comes. And that is where the Battle of Badr will take place, inshallah. And that will be tomorrow. I will talk about it tomorrow, inshallah. How many Muhajirin were there? How many Ansar were there? Khazraj, Aus, and camels, and so on. And how much of the, Mushrikeen were there? And what exactly happened in the battle? How did they get loose? And what was the consequences? Inshallah, tomorrow we will talk about that. But look at this sayr. Look at this journey. It was these expeditions that were taking place because the Muslims wanted to get their assets back. They were trying to go and loot the caravan of Abu Sufyan. Abu Sufyan was able to escape, and Abu Jahl basically is the one who cornered them. Abu Jahl was coming as a hero. That this is going to be an easy victory. I'm going to come as a hero. And by the way, in the Battle of Badr, they say the Muslims had very few camels, very few weapons, because they were not going in for a war. They were not going in for a war. And this is why it will become one of the most inspirational victories for Muslims in the first ever battle. Inshallah, tomorrow we will talk about it and we'll quote some ayat about the battle as well from the Quran. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina Muhammad wa alihi at-tahirin. Okay. It's a dua shifa. Yeah. There is a request for dua shifa for Sayyid Alamdar Hussein Khan, Mahmoud Rizvi, and Batul Akbar, and as well as anybody else who is sick and ill, of those who are present here, and all the believers anywhere they are. Inshallah, 5 times Amma Yujib for them. Inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Just a few announcements. So our daily Ramadan programs begin at 6:45 p.m. with the Quran Circle. Again, we'd like to request that you all attend on time and inshallah join us for these circles. The speech begins at 7:30 p.m. every day. Secondly, we will be having a Jashan of Viladat Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Taking place on Saturday, April 16th after Iftar, inshallah. And lastly, please help us run the CIG programs. Please sponsor a program for only $200 by e-transferring to treasure@cig.ca. And just one more thing, a request for Surah Fatiha, if you all can begin reciting. I'll just say the names. So marhumin of Sabawala family, marhumin of Virani family, marhumin of Ladani family, marhumin of Fadl family, and all marhumin. Fatiha.
No, I was going to, but I couldn't. So he was like, do you know what happened to the guy? Because the guy was so young, bro. He was sick. He was sick. Oh man.
You want to do it now? Yeah.
Just give him 2 minutes.
You do it with this mic?
Yeah. Want to do it with another mic?
Wait 1 minute.
When you're doing a Zan, stand over there, okay? Yeah. Oh, yeah, bro, I was so sad because I saw like on another story, and then I saw Cosmic story.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولله الحمد. الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن عليًّا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليًّا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل. حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. إله إلا الله. وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. صلوات.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله وأن عليا ولي الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. إني وجهت وجهي فطر السماوات والأرض حنيفا مسلما وما أنا من المشركين. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقومون. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. الله. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته يقومون. سبحان الله. سبحان الله. سبحان الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف الذليل. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا علي يا عظيم يا غفور يا رحيم، أنت رب العظيم الذي ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. وهذا الشهر نظمته وكرمته وشرفته وفضلته على الشهور، وهو شهر الذي فرضت صيامه علي، وهو شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان، وجعلت فيه ليلة القدر وجعلتها خيرا من 1000 شهر. فيا ذا المن ولا يمن عليك، من علي بفكاك ركبتي من النار، في من تمن عليه وادخل الجنة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله، وأن عليا ولي الله.
عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور. اللهم أغن كل فقير. اللهم اشبع كل جائع. اللهم اكس كل عريان. اللهم اقض دين كل مدين. اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب. اللهم رد كل غريب. اللهم فك كل أسير. اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين. اللهم اشف كل مريض. اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك. اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك. اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين علي ولي الله، السلام عليك يا سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليكم رسول الله، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء، السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء، السلام عليك يا شمس الشمس، السلام عليك يا أنيس النفوس، السلام عليك يا أيها المدفون بأرض توس، السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا الراضي بالقدر والقضاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان الأمان الأمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد.
नहीं नहीं सुना बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम इन्नल्लाह व मलाइकतहु यस्सल्लूना अलन नबी या अय्युहल्लज़ीना आमनू सल्लु अलैहि व सल्लिमू तस्लीमा। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन व आलि मुहम्मद अल्लाहुम्मा रब्ब शहर रमज़ान अल्लज़ी अंज़लता फ़ीहिल क़ुरआन वफ़्तरज़ता अला इबादिका फ़ीहि सियाम सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन व आलि मुहम्मद वरज़ुक़नी हज्ज बैतिकल हराम फ़ी आमी हाज़ा व फ़ी कुल्लि आम वग़फ़िर ली तिल्का ज़ुनूबल इज़ाम फ़इन्नहु ला यग़फ़िरुहा ग़ैरुका या रहमान या अल्लाह। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद। दुआ इफ्तिताह। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन व आले मुहम्मद अल्लाहुम्मा इन्नी अफ़्तहतु सनाउ बिहम्दिक व अन्त मुसद्दिदुस सवाब बिमन्निक व अयक़नत अन्नका अन्त अरहमुर राहिमीन फ़ी मौज़िल अफ़्व वर्रहमा व अशद्दुल मुआक़िबीन फ़ी मौज़िन नकाल वन्नक़मा व आज़मुल मुतजब्बिरीन फ़ी मौज़िल किब्रियाए वल अज़मा। अल्लाहुम्मा अज़िनत ली फ़ी दुआइका व मसअलतिक फ़स्मा या समीउ मिदहती व अजिब या रहीम दावती वाक़िल या गफ़ूर असरती फ़कम या इलाही मिन कुर्बतिन क़द फ़र्रजतहा व हुमूमिन क़द कशफ़तहा व असरतिन क़द अक़लतहा व रहमतिन क़द नशरतहा व हलक़त बलाइन क़द फ़कक्तहा। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहिल्लज़ी लम यत्तख़िज़ साहिबतन वला वलदा वलम यकुल लहू शरीकुन फिल मुल्क वलम यकुल लहू वलियुम मिनज़्ज़ुल्ल वकब्बिरहु तकबीरा। अल्लाह अल्लाह अल्लाह। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि बिजमीइ महामदि कुल्लहा अला जमीइ नेमही कुल्लहा। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहिल्लज़ी ला मुज़ाद्द लहू फ़ी मुल्के वला मुनाज़िअ लहू फ़ी अम्रे। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहिल्लज़ी ला शरीक लहू फ़ी ख़ल्क़े वला शबीह लहू फ़ी अज़मते। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहिल फ़ाशी फ़ी ख़ल्फ़िल ख़ल्क़ अम्रो व हम्दहु ज़ाहिर बिल करम मजदो अल-बासित बिल जूद यदो अल्लज़ी ला तनक़ुसु ख़ज़ाइनुहा वला तज़ीदुहु कसरतुल अताए इल्ला जूदन व करमा इन्नहु हुवल अज़ीज़ुल वह्हाब। अल्लाहुम्मा इन्नी अस्अलुका क़लीलन मिन कसीर मा हाजतिन बी इलैहि अज़ीमा व ग़िनाका अन्हु क़दीम وهو عندي كثير وهو عليك سهل يسير. اللهم إنا عفوك عن ذنبي وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي وصفحك عن ظلمي وسترك على قبيح عملي وحلمك عن كثير جرمي عندما كان من خطاي وعمدي. أطمعني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك الذي رزقتني من رحمتك واريتني من قدرتك وعرفتني من إجابتك. فصرت أدعوك آمنا وأسألك مستأنسا لا خائفا ولا وجلا مدلا عليك فيما قصدت فيه إليك. فإن ابتعني أتبت بجهلي عليك ولعل الذي ابتعني وهو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور. فلم أرى مولا كريما أصبر على عبد لئيم منك علي يا رب. إنك تدعوني فأولينك وتحبب إلي فأتبغض إليك وتتودع إلي فلا أقبل منك. كأن لي التطول عليك فلم يمنعك ذلك من رحمته لي والإحسان إلي وتفضل على بجودك وكرمك. فارحم عبدك الجاهل وجد عليه بفضلك إحسانك إنك جواد الكريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الإصباح ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمه بعد علمه والحمد لله على عفوه بعد قدرته والحمد لله على طول عناته في غضبه وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادله ولا شبيه يشاكله ولا زهير يعاضده. قهر بعزتك لا عزها وتواضع لعظمته العظمى فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أناديه ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا عاصي ويعظم النعمة علي فلا يجازي. فكم من موهبة هنية قد أعطاني وعزيمة مخوفة قد كفاني وبهجة مونقة قد أعراني. فأثني إليه حامدا وأذكره مسبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه ولا يغلق بابه ولا يرد سائله ولا يخيب عامله. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين ويرفع المستضعفين ويضع المستكبرين ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلف آخرين. والحمد لله قاسم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين نكال الظالمين صريخ المستصرخين موضع حاجات الطالبين معتمد المؤمنين. अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहिल्लज़ी मिन खश्यते तरअदुस समाअ व सुक्कानुहा व तरजुफुल अर्ज़ु व उम्मारुहा व तमूजुल बहार व मन यज़बहु फ़ी ग़मरातिहा अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहिल्लज़ी हदाना लिहाज़ा व मा कुन्ना लिनहतदी लौला अन हदानल्लाह अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहिल्लज़ी यख़्लक़ु व लम युख़्लक़ व युरज़क़ु व ला युरज़क़ व युत्इमु व ला युत्अम व युमीतुल अहया व युह्यिल मौता व हुवा हय्युन ला यमूत बियदिहिल खैर व हुवा अला कुल्लि शैइन क़दीर अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आलि अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन अब्दिका व रसूलिक अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व अमीनिका व सफ़ीका व हबीबिका व खैरतिका मिन खल्क़िक व हाफ़िज़ सिर्रिका व मुबल्लिग़ रिसालातिक अफ़ज़ला व अहसना व अजमला व अकमला व अज़का व अनमा व अत्यबा व अतहरा व असना व अक्सर मा सल्लैत व बारकत व तरहमत व तहन्ननत व सल्लमत अला अहदिम मिन इबादिका व अंबियाइक व रसुलिक व सिफ़तिक व अहलिल करामत अलैका मिन खल्क़िक अल्लाहुम्मा व सल्लि अला अलीन अमीरुल मुमिनीन व वसी रसूल रब्बिल आलमीन अब्दिका व वलियक व अखी रसूलिका व हुज्जत अला खल्क़िक व आयतिकल कुबरा व नबाल अज़ीम व सल्लि अला सिद्दीक़तित ताहिरा फ़ातिमत ज़हरा सय्यदतुन निसाइल आलमीन अला मुहम्मद व सल्लि अला सिब्ति अर्रहमा व इमामिल हुदा अल हसन वल हुसैन सय्यद शबाबिल अहलिल जन्नह अल्लाह व सल्लि अला अइम्मतिल मुस्लिमीन अली इब्न अल हुसैन व मुहम्मद इब्न अली व जाफ़र इब्न मुहम्मद व मूसा इब्न जाफ़र व अली इब्न मूसा व मुहम्मद इब्न अली व अली इब्न मुहम्मद वल हसन इब्न अली वल खलफल हादियुल महदी हुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आलि हुज्जतिका अला इबादिका व अमनाइक फ़ी बलादिका सलवातन कसीरतन दाइमा अल्लाहुम्मा व सल्लि अला वलियल अम्रिकल क़ाइमिल मुअम्मिल वल अदलिल मुंतज़िर व हुफ़्फ़हु बिमलाइकतिल मुक़र्रबीन व अय्यदहु बिरूहिल क़ुद्स या रब्बिल आलमीन सल्लि अला अल्लाहुम्मा जअल्हु दाई इला किताबिक वल क़ाइम बिदीनिक इस्तख़लफ़हु फ़िल अर्ज़ कमा इस्तख़लफ़तल लज़ीना मिन क़ब्लिह मक्किन लहु दीनहु अल्लज़ी इर्तज़ैतहु लह अब्दिलहु मिन बादि ख़ौफ़िह अमनन युअब्दुका ला शरीका बिका शैअन अल्लाहुम्मा इज़्ज़ु व इज़्ज़ बिह वंसुरहु वंतसिर बिह वंसुरहु नस्रन अज़ीज़ा वफ़्तह लहु फ़तहन यसीरा वजअल लहु मिन लदुनका सुल्तानन नसीरा अल्लाहुम्मा अज़हिर बिही दीनका व सुन्नत नबीक हत्ता ला यस्तख़फ़िय बिशैइन मिनल हक़्क़ मख़ाफ़त अहदिन मिनल ख़ल्क़ अल्लाहुम्मा इन्ना नरग़बु इलैका फ़ी दौलतिन करीमा तुइज़्ज़ु बिहल इस्लाम व अहला व तुज़िल्लु बिहन निफ़ाक़ व अहला وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملناه وما قصرنا عنه فبلغناه. اللهم المم بشعصنا واشعب به صدعنا وارتق به فتقنا وكسر به قلتنا وعزز به ذلتنا وأغن به عائلنا واغز به عن مغرمنا واجبر به فقرنا وسد به خلتنا ويسر به أسرنا وبيز به وجوهنا وفك به أسرنا وانجه به طلبتنا وانجز به مواعيدنا واستجب به دعوتنا وآتنا به سؤلنا وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة آمالنا وآتنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المؤتين. اشف به صدورنا واذهب به قيظ قلوبنا واهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إله الحق الآمين. الله صل على محمد وآله. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله وغيبة ولينا وكسرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة الفتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا فصل على محمد وآله. اللهم صل على محمد وآله. وإن على ذلك بفتح منك تعجله وبزر تكشفه ونصر تعزه وسلطان حق تظهره ورحمة منك تجللناها وعافية منك تلبسناها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم برحمتك في الصالحين فادخلنا وفي اللين فارفعنا وبقاسم من معين من عين سلسبيل فاسقنا ومن الهور العين برحمتك فزوجنا ومن الولدان المخلدين كأنهم لؤلؤ مكنون فاقدمنا ومن ثمار الجنة والهوم الطير وأطعمنا ومن ثيابس السندس والحرير والاستبرق والبسنا والليلة القدر وحج بيتك الحرام وقتلا في سبيلك فوافق لنا وصالح الدعاء والمسألة فاستجب لنا وإذ جمعت الأولين والآخرين يوم القيامة فارحمنا وبراءة من النار فاكتب لنا وفي جهنم فلا تغلنا وفي عذابك وهوانك فلا تبتلنا ومن زقوم والزريع فلا تطعمنا ومن الشياطين فلا تجعلنا وفي النار على وجوهنا فلا تغضبنا ومن ثياب النار وسرابيل القطران فلا تلبسنا ومن كل سوء يا لا إله إلا أنت بحقك لا إله إلا أنت فنجنا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك أن تجعل فيما تقضي وتقدر من الأمر المحتوم في الأمر الحكيم من القضاء الذي لا يرد ولا يبدل أن تكتبني من حجاج بيتك الحرام المبرور الحج هم المشكور سعيهم المغفور ذنوبهم المكفر عن سيئاتهم وأن تجعل فيما تغزي وتقدر أن تطيل عمري في خير وعافية وتوسع في رزقي وتجعلني ممن تنتصر به لدينك ولا تستبدل بغيري. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذك بجلال وجهك الكريم أن ينقضي عني شهر رمضان أو يطلع الفجر من ليلتي هذه ولك عاقب لي طبعة أو ذنب تعذبني عليه. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. एक सूरह फातिहा की दरख्वास्त है तमाम मरहूम मोमिनात अपने मरहूमीन और ख़ास तौर पे जिन्होंने आज का अफ्तार स्पॉन्सर किया उनके तमाम मरहूमीन के लिए फातिहा। तो जय ज़ियारत। अस्सलामु अलैका या रसूलल्लाह, अस्सलामु अलैका या नबी अल्लाह, अस्सलामु अलैका या अमीरुल मोमिनीन व सय्यदुल वसीन, अस्सलामु अलैका या फ़ातिमतुज़ ज़हरा सय्यदतुन निसाइल आलमीन, अस्सलामु अलैका या हसन मुज्तबा, अस्सलामु अलैका या अबा अब्दुल्लाहिल हुसैन व अला आलि इब्निल हुसैन व औलादिल हुसैन व अस्हाबिल हुसैन खुसूसन सैयदी व मौलाय अबिल फज़ल अब्बास इब्न अमीर अल मोमिनीन उख्तक ज़ैनब उम्मे कुलसूम व बिन्तिका सकीना व जमीअन शुहदाए व असीरान करबला व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहु। अस्सलामु अलैका या अइम्मतुल हुदा अली ज़ैनुल आबिदीन मुहम्मदन अल बाक़िर व जाफ़र सादिक़ व मूसी काज़िम अली रज़ा व मोहम्मद तक़ी अली नक़ी वल हसन अल अस्करी। अस्सलामु अलैका या साहिबल अस्र वज़्ज़मान अल अमान अल अमान अल अमान मिन फितनतिज़ ज़मान। अस्सलामु अलैका या शरीकल कुरान, अस्सलामु अलैका या इमामल इंस वल जान, अज्जलल्लाहु तआला फ़रजक व सहलल्लाहु मख़रजक व ज़हूरक। अस्सलामु अलैका व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू।